Basically, this will be a Q&A kind of webinar. So I'll be asking Corinne and Greg just some questions we already have. And if anyone wants to ask questions, they can either ask it in the chat box, or alternatively, you can just ask a question after I finish. This webinar is being run by VTPC and will be recorded for later viewing. And yeah, I'll unmute everyone at the stage. So everyone's unmuted at the moment, and you can mute yourself if you want while everyone's talking. And we'll start now. Bear with me because I've got all the questions listed here. So one of the questions I've been sent is, what does it take to be a world champion, and what sacrifices did you two have to make to get there?
That's a piece of cake. It's like 15 minutes. That's a good question. It can last actually the whole hour. You want to start?
No, you can start.
Okay, so we managed to. We are lucky. We done that in. We did that in 10 years, but some lucky guys did that in 5 or 6 years. But I mean, the thing is, it takes a long time because you have to commit so many mistakes to get to succeed. Because of the huge stress. I mean, whatever is the how hard you try, I mean, you're gonna still have this huge stress at the World Meet. Even if you're a multiple national champion at the World Meet, it's gonna be such tremendous stress. You have to do many so you can be able to succeed.
Okay, I'll take it. So I guess the commitment that you have to do is just the biggest you can. So we had to quit our jobs to have more time and get full on with training and improving in the coaching and the tunnel as well for our personal skills. So we can be full-time just skydiving and focusing on our goal. So that was a big commitment for sure, quitting the job first. And then putting basically everything you earned as money and inject it into your training. So it's also like a very big and scary commitment. But there's no really other way, because everyone thinks it is true, though the French Federation is amazing for that when they take you in, they sponsor your training, but for you to be in sometimes can take 8 years, like for us.
Wow.
So we were only in the last 1.5 years, no, 2 years.
2 years.
The last 2 years we were in
these conditions,
yeah.
having this condition, this full support. Yeah.
But before that, we paid for every single jumps we've done, and that's horrible. It's it's tough, because when you want to try new moves, you gotta.
It's not horrible. It's just super hard.
Yeah, but it's mentally kind of horrible, because when you want to try new figures or whatever, you try and then you fail. So you have to try again and try again. So all those jumps, and you have to accept that there's a time that you need to do that if you want to really get to the next. So it's hard. It's hard, but it's worth it in the end. If you really focus on this goal, then you can achieve it. It's just going to be long and painful.
Yeah, it sounds like a very tough journey you've gone through. What advice would you give for somebody else that would go through that? If someone else was saying to you, I want to get into this sport, what advice would you give them?
The thing is to be honest with what you want to live. Like, do you want to live just the experience of having a 3-way or 2-way, freestyle or free fly, and go to World Meet, because this is already something amazing? Or do you want to be maybe world champion? That's two different things. In both ways, you have to consider to build a big planning that match with all the members. Maybe 8 weeks of training or something. It's a lot in the year, and maybe more. You have to provide, to get organized so you can have 2 rigs maybe some packers sometimes, so you can be really efficient. Like it's a lot of logistic and organization for sure. But just you have to be sure first of what you want to experience, so you not be disappointed at the end.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. And how do you both prepare for competition, and what kind of mindset do you kind of do? Like, what is there any exercises, or do you do visualization, or how do you prepare for a competition, and what are you thinking when you're about to jump?
We actually had an evolution even inside our story experience. We had an evolution dealing with the training and dealing with the competitions. And again, I like to say, like we did so many mistakes. Like we did also too much training just before competition. So we learned a lot. But I think the best is the mental. Be very aware of what you can provide. Like never try the hardest move, or never try to do the most difficult thing. Like in a martial art, when you have to present something, you don't try your best. You try something a little bit below, so you can master it every time you have to present it. And then when you accept to work this way, it's almost only the mental. And that doesn't mean it's easy. That means then you have to work a lot, and it takes months and years to be unbreakable with your mentals. Like we like to say at the World Championship, we plan to not even watch the results on every jumps. We say we're not going to pay attention if we have 8 points or 9 or 7, because it's not in our hands anymore. So just do our best, and don't have outside informations. And this is part of the mental preparation, and that's the most important for me.
But for the mental, it's also important to make sure you stay aligned with your origins. You know?
Yes, like in Kulu Rasta. Don't forget where you come from. That's also a very good point.
What favorite competition has been your favorite so far to compete in, either in the sky, tunnel?
Well, for me, every competition we've done in 10 years, I was always kind of disappointed, because some people said, wow, we made the best jump we've ever done in competition. And for us, it was never the case. Like we would always have our best jump during training, but competition, we never managed to like get it out perfectly. Until we went to Australia, and for the World Championship, that was the first time that we actually managed to do jumps that we were proud of during competition. And I think this is all related to the way we manage our stress.
I have a theory on that.
That changed a lot. So yeah, definitely it was
but I have
the last one.
It's very important point, and if you go deep in training and competition, you talk about this very early. Like normally you provide the best performance at the competition and not at the training. Like in the Olympic Games, it's often the case that they do world records and stuff. And it was hard for us to do this. My theory is about it was because of the money. Because we had to pay for everything, the stress of, if we miss this competition, then it's another year of waiting to be maybe French team, or to be maybe again Pacific stuff. And that can be hard. This is why also you have to think about this when you build your team, like how the money is very important to deal with, because if you put everything you have, like it can be too much stress as well. So put 90% of what you have, but not 100%.
Yeah, I can understand how that would be very stressful. It's very hard, I guess. You're putting in a lot of time and money to get where you are. So I can imagine the stress would build up. Yeah. Do you prefer coaching, competition, or fun jumping? Like if you could choose anything on any day, what would be your favorite thing to do?
1-to-1.
Yeah.
I love 1-to-1 because no, brief is the best for sure. But you can focus on just one person, and well, sometimes you can brief also, but just that ensures you to have a nice distance and communication with the person you're jumping with. And I actually like the training jumps for competition because you get to like try things, new moves, and or combine different moves, and you get a really rich jump in the end. Like your jumps, it feels like it's stretched because you manage to do so much into it. So I like when there's full movements, like different things going vertical and then horizontal and then back to rolling and everything. So it makes it more interesting to me. So one-to-one is a good way to manage that. And yeah, I like the feeling that you have, the special connection that you have with the other guy you're jumping with, or girl, for sure.
And for me, even if it looks like the easy answer, I really love and need to do a bit of everything. It's not that I get bored doing only one thing, but I love doing training because you manage to get precision on some moves you will never reach. I love to do big waves, even training for big waves and actual big waves, because you find this teamwork again, but in a different size, but it's still a team. I love to do tunnel. Every time I go for tunnel camp, I love to fly with the instructors there because they have their style, their way of dealing with the air, and it's always like funny to follow them or leading them and watching them. I really love and need to do everything, and to be under my canopy as well, even if it's kind of solo moments. I don't know. This is why skydiving is so rich, and we're lucky to do it. Three-dimension flying stuff. It's amazing.
Do you guys like teaching better, or do you actually like learning? Because you've been in the sport for a very long time. So would you rather teach a student how to do something, like either in the tunnel or sky, or would you like to, like you said, learn from a different coach of how they move and how they fly?
I guess we never stop learning in this sport. That's also for me the most impressive side of it, is like no matter how you're flying now or your level, or if you think you're at the top, you're wrong. There's always like more to explore. There's always different techniques, different maybe things we haven't thought about now that you can go for. So learning for sure, like never stop learning or you'll just die. I don't know, like that's my way of seeing, but apart from that, for sure, like we try to keep on improving and learn new stuff, but I really love, and I think I can say for you as well, we really love coaching.
We are thinking the same, like it's good to be, you know, in the middle. Yeah, you have your students, you're here, and you can still learn from other people. And you don't really have to think, I have to be coached by somebody who has 10,000 jump more than me or 1,000 tunnel time hour more than me, because sometimes you could be surprised. You can jump with a guy who has 100 jumps, but he's a gymnast champion, whatever stuff, and he brings to the sport something he has in his sport, and in a simple jump, you're like, oh, what's going on?
And you can learn from that.
So yeah, it's super fresh and I think healthy to think, okay, I coach because I love coaching and it's part of becoming better yourself, but also be aware of being coached any second by a simple, even if it's for 10 seconds, you can learn and you have to learn from everybody all the time.
I think also like what I love in coaching is that basically I love everything that is related to creativity, and being an interior designer in my previous job, and I kind of like thought I would maybe miss the side of it, but after like when we started competing, we were trying to create the routines and transition to one move to another and everything, so it was being creative in a different way. And now with coaching, it's also very present because you need to think about different ways of talking to people. There's not like one line of coaching and you just say like a robot the same thing or the same tips to everyone, because everyone is different. So you have to try and adapt to the person that you have in front of you, and maybe try different things. Like sometimes we're gonna give tips for sit flying to a dude, and then he's not gonna manage. So then we're gonna be like, okay, so maybe if I focus more on his legs, or maybe if I focus more on something else, it's going to work for him. And then you try different things, and then boom, you get what you want, and that's really cool. So yeah.
That is
also,
really cool.
Sorry, last thing I wanted to.
Keep going.
So you guys can sleep good. No, it's when we started Tunnel, we had kind of bad experiences with the coaching that we had at the beginning, and we felt like we lost a lot of time. So we always told each other, like, when we're going to start coaching, we're going to try and make people progress as fast as we can, because that's what we expected and we didn't have. So we try to give,
because it's expensive.
We try to give what we want to receive in general. So that's it.
So if you had a student come to you that, say, had about 500 jumps and like a couple of $1,000, would you recommend that they either go and do a big tunnel camp, or would you recommend like 10 hours, or would you recommend they do small times but still skydive in between? What would you recommend a person be like? Should I go all in tunnel flying, or should I do a tiny bit and then still jump in between and spread the money evenly?
So yeah, it depends on people, that's for sure, but we still recommend, for if it's possible, because sometimes people can't do that for their jobs or some other reason, but we still recommend for the first 15-20 hours to work with tunnel camps of 3 or 4 hours, because if you do half an hour there and 1 hour here, it's really harder. At the end, you're going to spend more time and so more money, that's for sure. So we still recommend to do camps. And then it depends if you can afford to do 2 or 3 camps in a short time, like in 3 or 4 months, it's awesome for you. If you can do a camp like in Emporia Brava, where you can jump right after your camp, that's even better. Or in Arizona, you can do that as well. I mean, I just advise people to do camps so they can do in 3 or 4 hours. Okay, I did my sit fly. Okay, I did my head down or half of my head down. You know, to do big step, and
then go try in the sky.
That's how I learned, so I like that way of learning. Jason's asked a question in the box. He said, psychology at world champ competition level, did you work it out yourself over 8 years, or did you get help from other world-class competitors? Did you read books? Did you do workshops with sports psychiatrists? Like, how did you do it and work it out?
So I'll speak for myself, but I think we didn't have so many tips from outside. We didn't have a mental coach. We didn't have a routine coach. We didn't have any coach. We kind of like figured it out ourselves along the way. Like, you're talking about like stress management, right?
No. If we had how did we build the stuff and having coaching? But we had some coaching, but it was very punctual stuff.
Like preparing for competition, managing the stress, figuring like visualization.
Yeah. Basically, how did you prepare for competition, and also how do I say this? Stress management. Yeah. So
yeah.
I compete at Worlds for wingsuiting. And I get in my own head when I do a bad jump. And then if I do a bad jump, then I spend the rest of the day thinking about that bad jump. And so that's what I'm kind of battling with personally, and reading books and stuff like that. But I'm just curious how you kind of figured it out yourself.
Okay, so basically, I think we've learned from our mistakes along the way. And since we were there for a long time, we had many experience where there was this one jump in competition in 2013? 15? Okay, so we trained a lot, and just before the competition, the French national, we were training from a different plane than the one we had in the competition. And we figured out like the door was bigger, and when we started competing, at one exit, Greg just like get stuck into the door, and so we spread out, and we're like, fuck, the rest of the jump we're just thinking about, fuck, how did this happen, you know? And so we get back together and continue the jump, but as we continue the jump, we're still mentally into that fuck, you know? And it doesn't help, because when you're in this state of mind, everything just goes worse. So from that, we've learned about trying to let go of whatever happened and just focus on the present moment and try to make the best of what is left. And later on, you can like kill yourself or whatever, but you have to be focused on the moment and do something. It's like, if you're going into a car accident, are you just gonna let go of the wheel and be like, fuck, this is gonna hurt? Or are you gonna try to do something, you know, like turn your wheels or brake or do something? I think it's the same reaction. You need to try to get out of it. So focus on now. It's the best advice for that. If you fuck up something in a jump, and sorry,
no, go
I'm done. And the other thing is like, again from experience, when I start to go back to low speed in the tunnel, because we learned from high speed in 2009, I think. Then there was this whole low speed technique that really helps you to get into another step. So at one point you have to accept to go back to the beginning and learn with low speed. And I was getting so angry at myself when I couldn't nail a simple move, because I knew everything I need to do with my body, but the body wasn't responding. And I used to get super angry at myself and doing more shit and more shit. So at one point I just figured like, okay, what the hell? It's gonna take me the time that I need. And I just started to be more nice to myself and accept that it's just gonna be longer. And then whenever I was failing a movement, or now if I fail a movement, I just laugh at myself and be like, oh, whatever, it's gonna go better at one point. So I think that helped a lot for me.
Me?
Sorry.
No, but it's kind of the same. But I think it's important to have this self-critical, to be self-critical a lot, because every people are a little bit different and gonna react naturally differently. So they have to learn about themselves, how they deal with the stress to improve it. Like, for example, I always took example from very advanced skydiver, and they were so relaxed because they have 10 more years of skydiving or 10,000 more jumps. And they were like, you don't care, you're gonna miss a jump and that's it and whatever. And I was not like this. I was so much like putting energy and like, oh, this jump is almost like if it was the last jump of my life, you know. I was putting so much energy in every jump so it can be so perfect. I did too many mistakes because I put too much energy at the end. That was my way of jumping, to put too much, to be too much awareness, too much power, too much everything. I was too much. So I had to learn to slow down. And it was this one day I discovered, I like to say that when we have interviews, like we do three-way, for example, as a free flyer. So if I do the best jump of my life, I will only do 33% of the jump. So then you realize, okay, I'm just a part of the team. So I have to work on me. So for example, I put too much energy on everything I do. So I need to put less. And I have to watch myself for the whole jump so it can be matching the energy of the rest of the jump or the rest of the members, for example. So that's my way of dealing with the stress now. I said, oh, I'm this kind of guy, so I'm just gonna behave. So it can, so the last picture can be perfect, you know? That's my way of dealing with my stress. I just pay attention on me so it can be nice for everybody.
No, that's awesome. Thanks, guys. It resonates with me. The story about the door at the last World Championships, when they not changed the rules, but rather than getting out at 12,500, they lowered the exit altitude to 10,000 feet. And you know, so the conditions that you train for aren't the conditions that you compete in, and then your results aren't the same as what you've been training at, and it kind of messes with your head. And then also because I put in so much effort, and then just like you're saying about going 100% all the time, and I put in so much effort in my dive to build up so much energy for the rest of the jump. If I couldn't do that, it was messing with my head. So no, that's awesome. Thank you.
No, of course. And if I may, I would love to add something. I think because this sport is still young, we don't spend enough time on the what if. We should sit members of the same team or on the big waves and talk a little bit more about the what if, but before the competition, like we met this guy. He was in special force in Bahrain, and this approach he has because of his job was like so professional. And he was playing with us to see if we were a little bit thinking a little bit the same way, and we were far away from the same methodology he had. Like he said, okay, what if Karine missing one glove? She goes to the plane and she discovers, oh, I missed one glove. Is everybody's gonna take the gloves away, or she's gonna jump with one glove? So what if the ground of the plane is slippery when you're gonna jump off? A lot of this what if, and it's scary to think about it. But actually, if you try to find all the what if, then when it happens, like oh, we didn't have the altitude, like you said. Finally, it's gonna be less time, and maybe it's only our team in the 10 teams here that we're gonna be screwed with the altitude. Whatever, maybe we're gonna do even better jump. Let's say, okay, just prove that we can do the same, and the other team's gonna be wow, they did it anyway. I just do the what if for me.
The fact that you anticipate in your head a possibility that you don't wish it to happen, but if it happens, because you already thought about it, it's not such a big deal in the end.
Yep.
So you can manage it way more easily than just like discovering and be like, oh fuck, this is not on the plan, So
yeah,
it's important
I really like that.
In your head.
It's easy to say, but I think we should do that more.
I think no, that's really good. That's really cool. Good call out. I think it's hard because wingsuiting is a solo. You've got at least each other to kind of bounce ideas off. But that's something that I could probably play with the other wingsuiters on the Australian team.
For sure, for everybody.
And then kind of brainstorm and kind of work together and yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
And normally it becomes funny because when you play the what if with everybody sits around, you go for crazy scenarios and it became fun.
Yeah, that's it. Like if I did it by myself, I'd think about like I just get depressed. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Sarah.
Okay, to throw in a different kind of thing, I just want to talk to you about, if you guys are coaches or allos, if you can go to any event to be an allo or coach at, which event would you want to go to? Did that come through okay? If you could coach at any event, any skydiving event, what skydiving event would you want to coach at? What's the best event you've ever attended?
The K. Haha.
That was good.
It's a true one, though. It's a true one.
That's a good one. For sure.
There are so many, like.
They are all cool because they have their different kind of awesomeness. Like,
I've heard a lot about the camps going in Slovenia and
Slovenia, yeah.
So everyone is talking about this special place, like how special is this place, and we haven't been there yet. So there would be any event there would be good. I think we like to discover new places, so it doesn't really matter the event. We like to discover new places and new people and sometimes new mentality or new approach, and so yeah, everything is good.
Yeah. If you could go to an event, a skydiving event, as a participant, which one would you go to? Is there any events as a participant you would want to go to?
Non, mais lequel on voudrait aller.
That's a good. Okay, so we missed. I don't know what Karine's gonna say about that, but we missed the big way. The night jumps. How do they call that?
Ouais,
oh, the Chicago sequential night jumps. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is,
yes.
This is the next level of That's the new shit.
we got invited, but we couldn't make it. And obviously, like, it was a little just before the virus thing. But yeah, the images are just crazy. It looks amazing. So
oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, definitely we want to go for that.
Sorry. That's good.
The Cloudbreak Boogie. We're going to miss it in May because of virus. So yeah, we want to do that again for sure.
Very cool. And this is something that someone said to me. What are your thoughts about the downsizing rules in France versus the rest of the world? Because you have very particular rules with downsizing, whereas in the rest of the world isn't so strict.
It's forbidden to talk about that.
Okay.
Do you see the red dot here? Do you see it?
Yep, that's fair enough. I'll talk about, I'll switch it.
Yeah. Okay, it's okay. I want to talk about that actually. The thing is, it's always easy to say, even me, I was for a long time just the student, and I was like putting the finger, oh, they put too many rules, too many stuff, and too many blah. The thing is, we have to think that in France, the responsibility goes all the time to the owner of the drop zone. Like, whatever, if it was 100% fault of the skydiver, 100% it's going to be the fault of the skydiving owner, the technical director. So it's a lot. And the skydiving in France is very old. Like, they said we invited the skydiving. Like, it's the school of military is prestigious. Everybody comes in Pau to do the military course and stuff like it. We have such a history. Of course, we have more licenses and rules and stuff. I mean, it's the package. It comes with the package. So we have to live with this. But for sure, it's a little bit too much for me because it doesn't count about the experience of the skydiver or the rhythm the skydiver is going to follow. And that's a mistake for me. Just count with the number of jumps is not enough for me.
Also, the light weight women are really penalized because they are just like, sometimes they're not even in the charts.
Both experiences.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it misses a bit of flexibility and adaptation to the people and in their experience and their mentality probably. But yeah, for sure, it probably helped to have less people killed somehow.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Because they're gonna get killed in other countries, so it's gonna be enough for numbers.
Yeah, actually, I don't really think you can stop someone that decided to do a crazy downsizing. Yeah. You can try to talk to them. We've had people we've known that were going a little too fast or way too fast, and we had conversation with them to raise the awareness about that, and they were like, yeah, but don't worry, I'm gonna be slow, I'm gonna be this and that, and then 2 months later they go abroad and they kill themselves with a low turn. So I don't think you can really prevent people. You can slow it down, or you can, I don't know. Yeah.
Just, no, that's a good answer.
It would be better to educate people and have more like, why is it stupid to go too fast, or why is it not such a good idea to change your size and the type of canopy that you're using? Some people are not even aware that there are different type of canopies with different inclination, different, how do you say?
Different classification of canopies. Yeah.
So yeah, first I would try to educate more than just like forbid.
Yeah, and they should have more testimonies, because you can find the histories, what happened everywhere, but you have to look for that. That would be awesome one day to gather all this experience. So even if you're alone, if you have 200 jumps, if you're alone, if you look on your computer, you should be able to find all the testimonies of people who said, I broke my leg doing this and that, and with these parameters, because this is better sometimes than just the experienced guys say they don't do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't help.
Learning from mistakes It's always really important.
No, that's really good. That was very diplomatic yet answered, so you did well. Jason, do you want to ask your question again, or do you want me to ask it?
It's fun listening to you read it out.
You can read it.
So just a quick question. I'll go back to competition and worlds. Are you still training during lockdown or preparing in any way? Yeah.
Can you repeat?
Are you preparing for Russia still with lockdown?
Russia.
No, unfortunately, we decided almost a year ago to don't go there. We trained the 5 last year with the same video guy. It was very hard to find a guy that was able to keep up with the rhythm that we wanted to have. So it is Baptiste, and he wanted to stop right after the World Championship because he was putting so much time and so much energy on this project. He was just tired. He was in Belgium, so he didn't have any help to get money or free time. So every time we had a week of training, he had the double time of a week to do in 1 week. He had like 80 or 90 hours to do the weeks after. So 0 vacation for the last 3 years. He did on the 5 years with so much work and stuff. He was like, I'm super happy we did it, but I'm just done. And now he's going to be chief instructor in Belgium. So he's happy with his life. And we said, we're not gonna go to train another video guy and to spend 100 jump on the free routine to show him the free routine, 100 jump on each compulsory. Yeah. We said it's gonna take 300 jumps just to maybe have the same level kind of, and that's enough. We said maybe we have time to do something else, then do again. Unfortunately, with him, we would have done for sure many more, for sure.
What would you say to a competitor like Jason that was going, if you were going to go, what would you say to a competitor to prepare when there's so much absence at the moment, you can't skydive? What would you mentally do to prepare for the competition if you couldn't practice as much skydiving?
The thing is to simulate competition, because competition is so hard. It puts you in a different state of mind. So if you can't simulate competition because you cannot jump, you have to simulate or do competition of something else. Maybe do a small competition of karate or small competitions for yourself on bicycle, whatever. But you have to compete with somebody else.
No, but right now with the...
Yeah, I know, but you can do 2 ways. But I mean, if you can put yourself in a way that you have a pressure of time and pressure of performance, then you can still be stimulated. But I don't really know how to do exactly for sure.
I would say, like, for the training jumps, like if you were training on a specific move, for example, maybe just visualize, watch your last videos of trainings, try to see everything that you can improve from your video or from your mistake this day or whatever. And mental projection is so important that it actually, like, it's almost like you're jumping. If you really take the time to focus and go, like, close your eyes and visualize the whole thing, like you're going up, and this is the condition you want to have. Like, if you want to try to feel the stress of a competition, if you've done one before, remember how it feels. Put yourself in this state of mind, close your eyes and just go for the whole jump. Or if you want to improve you're just put yourself into the sky in your mind and think about what muscles do you use to do this move, what's your visual, what should be your visual at least. And with mental projection, you can do a lot already. So that's really important. And also, I would say, if your main problem is stress and your relation into that, maybe try to go in your mind into a situation that gives you stress, not necessarily related to skydiving, but maybe if you're, I don't know, if you're afraid of snakes or spiders or whatever.
Find a snake.
Just imagine, yeah, you're in Australia, you can do that. Imagine that you're in front of this fear and or stress, and try to take yourself out of the situation and think in a different approach or a different way, to how you can deal with it and get used to it, you know? I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it actually does. Thank you. That really helps. Thank you, Sarah, for making that follow-up question. But yeah, I just thought of some way I can kind of train still without jumping out of a plane. It came to me as you guys were talking. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
The thing I noticed is we never reach the perfect level of mastering balance. If you can work whatever is, even if you do wingsuits or belly fly, anything, the better you're gonna be at the balance, the better flyer also you're gonna be, because you have this awareness of the body that you build. Like work on one, work on one foot, maybe close your eyes, try to figure out where is the other foot and try to be 10 seconds perfectly still. Try to walk on your hands, all these, on your head. Try all these challenge of balance. This is also not losing your time if you don't jump. I would suggest improving that.
That's really good. What tips would you give for, because obviously everyone's not going to be jumping for a while, what tips would you give people going back into the sport after this long absence?
Wow.
Don't get too excited on the canopy.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard. Yeah, but keep. Don't drink coffee before jumping. No, I don't know. It's gonna be
just this.
No, I think, and everybody's already aware about that. Even the APF talked about that already. Like, for sure, you have to be aware of where you were at the skydiving progression. So if you were between 100 and 500 jumps, think twice about jumping again with the same canopy, because maybe you did only 20 jumps in this canopy 6 months ago. So, I mean, all these kind of things, you have to bring it at all the level of starting again and being super safe. Like you had a real stop of 1 year break and you have to come back. Like go easy for the first jumps for sure.
Yeah. Excitement sometimes bring you closer to the danger zone. And I know what I'm talking about because I broke my leg in 2009 because I was so excited under canopy. Yeah, I did a big mistake. So obviously just don't underestimate how
stupid you can be.
Yep.
Talking about incidences, what's your most scariest skydiving incident that's happened and what did you learn from that?
Dangerous skydiving. Wow. It's interesting because sometimes you can do, like we jumped the first time, the night jump we done was for midnight in Arizona, and it was like everything under control because they do it often. And for us, it was kind of scary. So it was something we were prepared. We knew everything that was supposed to happen, and still it was very scary. And on the opposite, sometimes you go for a three-way with a guy you don't know on this freeway, and you think it's going to be okay, and you have almost a collision under free fall or something. So it's hard. I have too many different stories of being scared in the sky, but not lately, because maybe I finally learned about not reproducing it. Just learn about, try to figure out before jumping what can be dangerous, because we did mistakes for sure. We accept an extra guy on the 10-way, and it becomes an 11-way or something, and it was way too much for maybe already 2 guys in the jump, and you bring another guy. All these kind of things you have to try to not repeating anymore in your career.
Yeah, I think it's more like you realize how dangerous the jump was or could have been once you've done it, once you're back into the ground, and be like, holy shit, that was close. Or so it's not really while you're jumping that you're like, oh, this is so scary or dangerous. It's more like when you land and you're like, wow, that could have gone really wrong. So it's always the same thing. It's like learning from the mistakes. Even if it didn't happen, it was a possibility. So I'll almost take it like it happened. So you take it as a mistake and you try not to reproduce the situation. Most of the time, I would say I've seen videos that really scared me a lot, and a lot of them are happening while big angle jumps, where people think that they can handle it because it's just an angle jump. They don't know how to head down, but it's just an angle jump, right? But for me, if you don't know how to head down, it's super dangerous to go in those angle jumps because you never know how steep it's going to be. And if it goes steeper than your abilities, you're not going to be like, oh, okay, I'll let go. You're going to try because you're into the moment and you're going to focus on the leader or focus on whatever and just try to follow this, but you don't have the technicality to do that or the skill or the experience. And you might end up being a huge bullet in the sky and ending up like I've seen videos where some guy are going on their belly and they're overshooting and they're like, oh shit, losing visual. So they do whatever they can to get back to visuals, and sometimes they just go the other way and go through the whole thing. And sometimes there's impact, and the impact is really, really bad and really strong. So yeah, just don't underestimate the power of angle jumps for sure.
Yeah, we do a lot of angles in Australia, like a lot of angles.
I would recommend that it's good to try to work on your head down before you go for steeper angles, because once you learn how to manage all the inclinations and go back to like more on your belly or your back, then it's way more easy to follow the transition of angles or adapt to the speed of the angle jump. Definitely, that's my biggest recommendation is
conclusion.
Yeah.
Don't do scary jumps.
Learn from your mistake.
Learn.
The better you are, and the more safe you can stay or you can be for the rest of the people, basically. So just boost your own skill.
And the last question I have for you guys is, what do you think the biggest issue in skydiving is today? Like, I know some people that I've asked this question to think there's issues because we have too much events now, but we don't have as much fun jumping, or everything's too organized now and you don't rock up to a drop zone anymore and you can just jump with your friends. It's all organized. You have to plan. What do you think is the biggest issue that you've seen from when you first started to now?
That will be very interesting to have an international forum for that, because sometimes there is an issue that arrives, like people who are doing too much tunnels and not jumps anymore, and then it's switched back on his own. So sometimes the problem is going to be fixed on itself after 2 years or 3 years. It's hard to correct. And the time you correct the problem, maybe it's going to be too late. I don't know. Also, the price of the fuel is getting higher. I don't know what is that's a good question. We should think about this like every month to maybe adjust a little bit. For me, it's maybe personal and it's maybe not a huge issue, but for me it's important. We lose too many people from 0 to 10 or 15 jumps. They just leave because after 2 or 3 weekends, too much wind, being alone in the big hangar because they don't know nobody comes to talk with them or something. I mean, if we can, for me, that's the biggest issue. Not lose anymore all the beginners, because we actually lose beginners, maybe 15 or 20%, and that's not acceptable.
Yeah, that's a huge thing which the APF is trying to improve here in Australia, is trying to retain the people that are starting out and the A-licensed people, because there is a huge gap in the market for those, to keep those people. Yeah. Mm. Perfect. Does anyone else have any questions, or do you guys have anything you'd like to add? Oh, there's a puppy in the corner.
Alex, is it? Alex, qu'est-ce que c'est?
I don't know how much time you guys have, but
we have unlimited time, so it's
nice.
We can talk for a long time, but we have questions here on our live from Instagram.
What's your favorite trick to teach in the tunnel?
What's our favorite trick to teach in the tunnel?
Ariel from Perth is asking the favorite trick to teach in the tunnel. Me first?
Yeah.
I need to. I need to start another story. I love, it's not a trick actually, but I trick people, so it's a kind of a trick. For example, when the flyers start to be good at the sit fly, so much that we are almost matching the potential speed, wind speed of the head down. I love when it's the last 10 seconds, I just say, oh, watch me. I go for head down and I say, now you turn. And I spot him, of course. And he's like, he doesn't have time to think about it. And we didn't talk about it. So he's like, oh, I don't know how to do. I said, just do it. And it's so nice because they don't have the measure tension they could have if they start from the net. They just try to do head up to head down. And it teaches me a lot of what they're going to be. Maybe they are motor angle, maybe they pull the head too much at the beginning, maybe I don't know. But it's going to teach me something super interesting. It breaks the big deal about being head down a little bit. So this is a trick I love to do in the tunnel. I mean, it's not a trick, it's like tricking people with something I wanted to say. You?
That's a good one. I don't know.
To teach sit fly trick.
Yeah,
but
it's not really
a trick.
It's not a trick. But yeah, I like.
Yeah, you do a lot of compass. That's a trick.
I like to
the balance.
The one you like. Anyway, no, I think I like to teach a lot head up because when I learned sit fly in a tunnel, I was a lot on my arms, like most of the people for sure. But nobody showed me a different way of sit flying. So I was like ruining my arms and I was getting tired super easily. And I like to teach people right away from the beginning to try not to use the arm so much and use more the legs to lift themselves up and the head. But to relax the arms since the beginning for me is something that I really like.
So I don't know if we answer her properly, but
I don't know if she can hear us.
No. She just missed the whole answer. That's funny. Maybe you have another question, no? The time I switch this again. No, if you don't have any more questions, it's okay. You what is your big way? What is the record in Australia? You have one?
Do you have an Australian record?
We do have an Australian record. I can't remember how much it is, how many people it was though.
Okay.
Because that's something we love to work for sure. I think it's when you get to this level in free fly, whatever, if you do freestyle or free fly or anything you do, when you get to this level that you're finally kind of good, it's so nice to do big waves. Not all the time for sure, but it teaches you a lot. And then you can get to go maybe to national record, build the national record or go to the world record. But maybe you don't have, I don't even know if you have a big wave. You should have one for sure.
I know the girls are preparing for Project 19, which is the head down big way in America. So we're having a lot of head down big way training. And I know that there was an Australian head down big way record that was done a couple of years ago. And I think someone mentioned they're going to try do that next year as well.
Cool.
But you should enjoy, I mean, if it's possible when we get to jump again, you should enjoy that the girls are training for the Project 19 to build a national record quickly with the girls.
Yeah, so as I'm trying to organise Victorian records, and I think they will try and organise, whoever's organising that project will try and organise a national head down record.
Do you know how many girls? Do you know how many girls do you know how many Australian girls are planning to participate to Project 19?
I think they said about 10 to 15 were planning to go to America.
That's a lot.
But not all of them will be. I think some of them are going just to be on the bench, on the hope to be on the bench. But I think, I think that's the amount. You would have to speak to the organisers about that, but that's from what I heard.
No, for sure. But still, if you can do, let's say, 10-way, official 10-way women in Australia, that would be awesome. And it's gonna play for sure also for the Project 19.
Yeah, and the bench is also like a really, really cool place to be because it's going to be active and you're going to be training just like you were in the main jump anyway. So there's so much to learn and such a good experience to live. No matter if you're in the big jump or in the bench, it's going to be awesome anyway. So
on the bench, sometimes you just go for the last 2 jumps and you're in the record at the end. You never know. You have to be 100% all the time.
Sarah, I wanted to ask you because obviously we've had this direct in Instagram and people had questions that we already answered with you guys. Is there a link that they can go and check out the video if you recorded this conversation somewhere?
Yep, so I have recorded this conversation and it will be available. So once I download it, I'll send you the link so that people can access it.
So don't worry guys, you're gonna have the link from this beautiful lady here.
Hi. Yeah, so we'll definitely put a link up. I'll do that tonight because I'm very slow at putting the rest of the ones up, but I won't edit it much and I'll put it up straight away so you can share it with anyone that wants access to it.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. That was awesome.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Alex. Woo! Cheers.
Thank you so much for attending and for answering all the questions. It's been really good.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.
And on to the lockup.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.